Okay, if you see the picture of the door, that door cannot be locked successfully unless somebody pulls on it from the inside. And we've seen this situation at a number of the sites, and obviously that's not a security, it's not in compliance with security.
All right, and as I mentioned earlier, agencies, if you need to submit a supplemental request to get locks, panic bars, intercom systems, cameras, feel free to do that. Send it in to us because security is going to be big, I believe, when the review comes around. We can't just have anybody walking into our site. All right, so thank you very much, Frank. Was there anything else that you wanted to leave us?
The last thing, I think we see a lot of, we're seeing a lot of, especially this time of year, garbage containers in the play areas. And obviously they have to be separated from the play areas. So that's the last sanitary thing that I wanted to bring up. Other than that, thanks for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. And we're going to move to Patricia Abernathy with Dominican. Patricia, can you hear us? Patricia, you may need to sign on with your audio. Is that the number? She says she's connected to audio. All right, so Patricia, when you get on the line, just raise your hand, and we will connect you. Patricia is going to be talking to us about food sanitation practices. Okay. Proper temperatures of food, proper handling of food, hand washing, bottles, and things like that. I know one of the areas that Frank and his team check on is the dual certification, that there needs to be people on site that are certified. Yes. In this area. Yes. And now I know we're moving towards the food handlers credentials, which teachers and anyone that's handling food. That's going to be some trainings that's coming up. So we have a training on the food handler certificate May 24th. We have two trainings that day, so an AM and a PM session, and we'll have many more all the way until the end of this year. You may want to go into your training until we get it. Okay, so until Patricia comes up, we also have the all the way back training coming up, asthma. We have an asthma training coming up May 17th. That's also at the King Center. We run this training probably 3 times a year because we always are at full capacity every time. I'm not sure if it's because of turnover or whatever, but we always have this training. There's always something new. I have a question.
The question is food handler certificate only for teachers? Do food service workers who have a FSSMC also need a food handler certificate?
So it's not only for teachers, it's for anyone that's handling food. I'm not sure if what's an FSSMC, if that's your full licensing in the kitchen. No, you don't need it. It's people who don't have any food handlers license, because they can handle the food because there was always one. Okay, so then we have the food handler certificate May 24th, as I stated, which will be the 2 times AM and PM session. Please only attend one. There's a repeat session. And at this training, you will receive your food handler certificate. So anyone that attends this training will now be certified to handle food. We have mildly ill inclusion exclusion June 2nd with Dr. Torrance, and then we have infectious disease control July 14th, 2016 with Dr. Torrance. I'm also, like I said, in June we will be getting our hand washing and diapering and toileting training done by Leslie Hampton in June as well.
And then we have a clarification on what that FSMC is.
It's Food Service Sanitation Manager Certification.
Yes. So no, you don't need it if you have your certification and you believe the AM session is probably full. If you do not see it on COPA, that means it has been closed and is now full. You can attend the PM session, but also know in June we'll have another AM PM session.
Mm-hmm. All right, and we're going to go over to Patricia Abernathy.
Patricia, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
And thank you.
Right,
Hello?
so, yes, we can hear you. We're bringing up
Oh, good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So we're ready when you are.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Abernathy. I'm a registered dietitian with the Dominican University's Head Start Nutrition Services program. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning talking a little bit about food safety and sanitation. So next slide, please. So I'm just going to go over briefly some food safety and sanitation topics, times and temperatures of food, times and temperatures of refrigerator and freezer, a little bit on hand washing. Leslie did a great job with that. A little bit about non-food personnel in the kitchen, and then touch a little bit on infant formula and breast milk procedures. Next slide, please. So it's really important when we talk about food safety and sanitation that we understand and know when we should be taking temperatures and what those temperatures are. Next slide, please. One of the main issues that we need to understand is hot. So when we're taking our food temperatures, we want to make sure that we know what those temperatures are. But the main temperature we want to look for is 140 degrees or above when we're holding our food for service in our Head Start programs. Next slide, please. We want to also make sure that we're holding our cold foods at 40 degrees or below. Next slide. So that's our milk and anything else that's cold and needs to be refrigerated. Next slide. And then is equally important is our times and temperatures of our refrigerators and our freezers. Next slide. So we want to make sure that we're taking those temperatures twice a day, and for our freezer, we want to make sure that those are 0 or below. And if we have commercial freezers with the thermometers built on the outside of the unit and built inside, we want to make sure that we're not using that thermometer to record the temperature. We want to have a thermometer inside the freezer. So we want to have a thermometer inside the freezer, and we want to record that temperature. Next slide, please. And just going back to the next slide, we want to make sure we have the same for the refrigerators as well, because some of the newer refrigerators might have the thermometers on the outside, but we want to have a thermometer inside all of our refrigerators and all of our freezers. All right, so for catered sites, a real important issue is what do you do when your food is delivered from the caterer to your site? So you want to check for a couple of things. You want to check the quantity of the food. You want to check the quality, and then of course you want to make sure that you check the temperature with your own working thermometer. And you want to make sure, by the way, it's not on the slide, but you want to make sure that your site has a procedure in place to make sure that you calibrate your thermometer periodically, make sure that it's working properly for taking your temperatures. Next slide. And then quickly, just to touch on hand washing, it is extremely important. As Leslie pointed out, she did a great job with that, but we need to be washing our hands before and after handling any food, before and after meals. We want to make sure that we're following the basic hand washing principles, and that all of us, all of the staff, the children, and anyone that comes into our Head Start programs are washing their hands appropriately. Next slide, please.
We actually have a quick question.
Yes.
Any recommendations on type of thermometer to use, or how to calibrate or change thermometers? Yeah,
so we have at the end of this presentation, there's some we have a food safety sanitation packet that Dominican has put together for our Head Start sites with thermometer information, and we can also provide you with those different types of thermometers as well as how to properly calibrate the thermometer that you're using. So we can provide you with some additional information on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so this should be very familiar to everyone in Chicago in our Head